Line 'em up, 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 line 'em up, 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 line 'em up, up, up. We're going to work on COAS today. Today we're going to focus on a little bit higher level ordering of whole numbers. And so far up to now, we have only ordered 3 whole numbers. We are going to be working on 4 today. The steps for ordering numbers, guys, again, we got to make a brick wall to make it easier to see. We're going to make a template and talk to the text to help us label our template. We're either going to label it from least to greatest or greatest to least with the L and the G. Then we're going to show our work by lining them up, and that will help us start to answer the question as we go through place value by place value. So let's take a look at the first one here. We're going to go through the steps at the top together. That way you guys have an idea what it should look like. First thing, brick wall. I'm going to look for those semicolons, and I want to be able to see those numbers a little bit more easily. So you can see I have my 4 numbers here. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a template. I have 4 numbers here that I'm going to be putting in order. So I am going to need to make a template with 4 places to put my parts of my answer, because we're going to be putting these numbers in order. Now I'm going to add to my template after I talk to the text. I know that I'm ordering these numbers from least to greatest. So I want to see the L for my first answer, part of my answer, and the G for the last part of my answer. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line them up. And I am simply going to start with the first number, and I have to apologize. I am so sloppy when it comes to writing with this computer, so I will do my best. Now, notice these are all 6-digit numbers. So that means when I'm lining them up, I don't really have to worry at all about how I line up these digits. They're going to, if I am neat, going to line up perfectly. So I'm going to throw my comma in here. I have 913,000 and 185. And thanks for bearing with me here. I just have one more. It is 903,395. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of my marker so you can see my work a little bit better. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and place each number into our template as we go place value by place value. With 4 numbers, it's going to look a little bit different. You have to really think logically here. For example, when I look at this very first place value, the 100,000s place, I see 2 8s and 2 9s. What that tells me here is something huge. I know that these 2 8s are less than these 2 9s. These ones are greater. So I know that these first 2 numbers that start with 8, they're going to be the 2 here. I don't know what order yet, but they're going to be on the 2 on the least half. And then over here is where my 2 are going to be for my greater half. So you can almost imagine a line dividing up my answer. And I know that my 8 numbers are going to go here, and my 9 numbers will go here. Problem is, I don't know of these 2 8 numbers, I don't know exactly which one is the very least. I know they're both 2 of the least, but I need to know the very least. Well, the 2 8s don't help me. So I'm going to go to the 9s. That doesn't help me. But now I'm going to go here. And I notice that my 2 and my 0 are different. I'm looking for the one that's the very, very least. The one that's the very, very least is going to be the one with the zeros. So it would be 890,146. And so now I've placed that one as my very least, which means this one is going to be my next least. So 892,495. There's a lot of thinking and logic that has to go into this. Now, the 2 that are on the greater half, these I have to look through, and I want to find the very, very, very greatest one next. 9 and 9 doesn't help me, but as I go to the 10,000s place, I see a 1 and a 0. And again, I'm looking for the one that's going to be the very, very greatest. I know it's going to be one of these 2, and it's going to be this one because 1 is worth more than 0. So I'm going to put that one, the 913,185. And that's this one here I can cross off. And last but not least, 903,395. And I'm just going to glance at all of them, make sure that all 4 of them are different. Sometimes we make mistakes and repeat the same number. That looks great, and I've got them in order from least to greatest. Let's try another example because they really are all quite different from one another. So We're going to go ahead and follow our steps again. First thing, brick wall. Separate those numbers so they're not so scary. And since I have 4 different numbers here, I'm going to make a template with 4 spaces. And now I'm going to talk to the text to figure out how to label my template. So I'm going to order these numbers. This time it looks like we're going from greatest on this side to least on this side. Now I'm going to go ahead and line them up. Again, I feel like this one isn't going to be too tough because if you notice, all 4 of these numbers are 5-digit numbers. So every place value spot is going to be filled with a digit from the number, and I don't have to really worry about making sure I line up place values and adding in those extra zeros because they're all 5-digit numbers. And I'm doing my best, guys. I know it's so sloppy, but I'm having a hard time writing with my mouse here. Okay, so now I've lined them up, and now I'm going to go place value by place value. And what I'm really trying to do is use logic, trying to place them as soon as I know that they can be placed. So my first place value, the 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 doesn't help me. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4 doesn't help me. But if you take a look, my hundreds place is going to start to help me. And I'm actually going to switch colors here just to make it a little bit easier for your eyeballs. When I look at this, I have a 2, a 0, a 1, and a 2. I know a little bit here. I know 0 out of all 4 of these is the very least. And there's no other 0. So I know that this one is going to be the very, very least one in my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in and be done with it. I can actually cross it off. And then I notice I have a 2, a 1, and a 2. Well, what I know is these 2 here that have the 2s, these are going to be my 2 greatest ones. They're going to be on this side of the dotted line. So I know I'm going to end up putting those here, which really means the one with the 1 is going to end up here. But let's look at the 2 greatest ones first. I need to figure out which one of these is the very, very greatest. So only focusing on these 2, and the 2s there are kind of a tie. So now I'm going to go to this next place value. If this is complicated, then simply take this number and this number alone and rewrite them. And that way you can kind of focus just on those numbers alone, and it's not such a scary problem to work with. So I can kind of show you both ways here. You can kind of say, well, remember the 3s were the same, the 4s were the same, these 2s were both the same, which puts them in this greater half, but it's going to be this place value. And if I'm looking at that 0 and that 9, and I'm looking for the very greatest one, I know 9 is greater than 0. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in right here. That would be 34,298. And this one is kind of the next greatest. It still was in that half because I had that 2 in the hundreds place. So I know it's going to just fall here kind of in second place. And again, it makes sense that this one here with the 1 is between the one with the 0 and the ones with the 2s here. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in, 34,013. And I have just ordered those guys from greatest to least. I'm going to show you one more. And this one's a little bit different because you'll notice, maybe, once I get a pen here, once I brick wall it, again, we have 4 numbers, so I'm going to make my template with 4 spaces. You'll notice that when I talk to the text, it says least to greatest. So I'm going to put the least here and the greatest here. And when I go to line them up, you can see a 6-digit number, another 6-digit number, but here I have a 5-digit number, and then again another 6-digit number. And that 5-digit number is going to require some thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and as neatly as I can, I'm going to go ahead and write these. And, you know, 6-digit numbers are going to line up really nicely with another 6-digit number. That's not going to be too complicated for me. But now I have this 5-digit number. So I want to make sure that I can put in that ones period, no problem. It's got 3 digits here. But when I fill in that 97, I want to make sure that the 7 stays in the thousands place and the 9 stays in the 10,000s place. And this number doesn't have any 100,000, so that's going to be where my 0 is going to go. And then, of course, I need to line up my last 6-digit number, which is going to have a beautiful space for everything. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch colors here. Let's go to green. And I'm going to start in my very first place value, and right away something pops out to me. This 0 is different, and what makes it different is it's less than the other digits. So I can actually go ahead right off the bat and I can place this number and just be done with it, which is really, really nice. And I can actually cross it off because I don't need it anymore. The rest of these all have ones. That doesn't help me. So I'm going to go to the next and place value, and they all have zeros, and that doesn't help me. But when I get to this place value, remember that 7 isn't important anymore. That's why I crossed it off. I've already put that number down. I noticed that I have a 9, a 0, and a 0, and that 9 is different because it's greater, and that's something I still need to know. So I'm going to put 109,395 right there, and I'm done with that one. Now, if you get to this point and you're, oh my gosh, it's just so scary, there's all these things that are crossed off, you can always rewrite those leftover numbers. I'm going to see if I can work with it. The only ones I care about are the second number and this fourth number. And I don't have any labels here in my template. So if I want, I can put a little g here and a little l because I know this one's going to be greater than this one. And right here, 0 and 0, remember, didn't help us there. So we're going to look into this next place value. And I have the 4 and I have the 3. That 4 is greater than that 3. So this one's going to go in that next greatest spot, which is 100,486. And then, of course, cross that off, my very, very last one. It's not the least. We've already placed the least, but it's the next least in this case. So, boys and girls, these are some examples of how to order 4 numbers. What I'd like you to do is I want you to click on the next video. It's called How To, and it's going to tell you how to do the very next activity. Enjoy.